Climate change doesn't occur in a vacuum. We overlay that with a growing population, with increasing sprawl, with fragmented landscapes that are cut up, air pollution, and social challenges. You know, if we have more flooding, if we have more heat-generated health problems, we need the health and readiness infrastructure to adapt to those, and we need to serve all the people who are being affected. And of course, there are geographic variability and limits to all this. Property and infrastructure. I talked with someone earlier who's had to dredge out their docks. You know, if we lose 3 meters of Great Lakes water level, we will have to do some serious retooling of our shipping channels. These things you can read. Increasing costs of rebuilding infrastructure next. Said all those things already, I guess. Next. Okay, cold-related health problems will decline, while heat-related morbidity and mortality will increase, and I think in the cities that's probably a bigger concern than here. We can jump in the lake as long as the water's still there. We saw Nadelhoffer's and Captain Hajo's data about increases in days over 90 degrees or over 100 degrees, and we're likely to see those. Higher level ground level ozone, and that is a concern. You know, at the biostation we measure CO2 uptake and released by the forest, but we also measure ozone. And you might be surprised to know that there are days in the year when we have 80 parts per billion ozone, and if you're a physician, you know that 80 parts per billion ozone is not something you want to exert yourself in. And we have those days when the air comes from the southwest on a muggy, hot day. We have what are called ozone events. We can trace the air mass that produced that ozone event at the biological station. Amazing. We can hindcast where that air was polluted and what it's done. How the chemistry has changed as it's moved. We might expect more waterborne and infectious diseases. So, what do we do? Well, you know, someone asked me if I was really pessimistic, and I used to be. I'm only a little bit pessimistic now because I really think the level of information that people have available to them about climate change is of better quality. I really think that we are creative and ingenious enough to develop solutions. And there's a paper by Stern produced in Britain, basically that did an economic analysis of not responding to climate change. The conclusion was, you know, we've often been offered this false choice of spend money to offset climate change or not. Well, it may cost us more to ignore the problem than it does to solve it. So I think we have the opportunity to reduce emissions. And if we're creative about it and we are at the leading edge of the technology that reduces CO2 emissions, we can actually, at least some sectors of our economy can make money. So we shouldn't view climate change as being something that necessarily will cause all of us to have a lower standard of living. We have to think creatively. There may be ways out of this box. There may not be. There may be ways. We can think about ways to design our communities to minimize pressure on the environment, to maintain the ecosystems that do provide services. Our forests in Michigan remove about a ton, well, I think metric tons, but 2.5 tons of CO2 per acre per year are removed by the forests that we measure. In other words, the forests take CO2 more out of the atmosphere than they release in respiration. We can manage our forests to do that. We can manage our wetlands to retain water. We have to prepare and manage for the impacts that will occur, but I think reducing emissions and minimizing fragmentation, managing ecosystems with an eye toward keeping carbon in the ground and out of the atmosphere are ways we can offset and mitigate the future of CO2 emissions. Thanks.